Josh.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you? So good to hear from you.
I'm
And
good. You
thank you so much
too.
for being a part of this.
Of course. Good to see you. How are you?
Yeah. So we're really, really excited. You are our first person on our little
Sweet.
episode, and
Guinea
we
pig.
sent you these questions, but we've realized that just doing, just really just tapping into your insight and your brain and what you've learned and what's been hard and difficult, what's been successful, is I think most exciting to consumers and also people in the industry. So it's kind of weird because I see Josh up on the top and I see you in front of me. So it's a little disconcerting. You're like all over the place, Josh. So Josh, welcome to Get Real, about all things CPG. And the way I met Josh to begin with was we were sitting at dinner for the CVS Innovation Summit, which was very exciting. I think only what was it, 20 brands out of
Yeah.
hundreds were selected to go to Rhode Island before COVID hit, thank goodness. And we were all had a nice dinner, and then we went to this great symposium where people talked about the success of being with CVS, and we can actually talk about that a little bit too. And then, and just to let the audience know, my name is Shari Leidick. I'm the founder and CEO of No Brainer Foods, Max Mallow. And formerly, I was the founder of Two Moms in the Raw, which was an organic sprouted raw foods company, which I did for 12 years. And we pivoted to No Brainer in 2016. And this is Jordan. Jordan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Jordan. I am 22, just graduated from Yale. Had been following Sherry and No Brainer Foods for the last couple years, and then after I saw them winning the 2019 Pitch Slam at Nosh, basically had to chase her down to get on the phone with me first time, kind of similar to how I met you, Josh.
Yeah.
But then finally convinced her to take a shot and allow me to help out kind of on the day-to-day ops of different types of things. So excited to be here as well and continue learning from founders like yourself, Josh.
Cool. Well, we're early. So just to introduce myself, Josh, co-founder of Slate Milk up here in Boston. We had the idea about 2 years ago, October of 2017. Basically, a friend of mine at the time, because we were in the tech space, came to me and asked me if I wanted to start a chocolate milk company. And I told him I love chocolate milk, but I'm lactose intolerant, so too bad. And he basically told me that he was as well, and he wanted to create a chocolate milk that we could have every day. And I agree. We were both drinking chocolate milk all the time, but even though it's lactose free, it wasn't great for us. And so that's kind of where our story started. And 2 years later, we were able to launch a product into the market, which at the time seemed forever away, but apparently that's pretty much par for the course in the food world.
Yep.
And here we are about 11 months later, launched online and through our website and through Amazon nationally, and some retail presence around the country as well. So I
Very
definitely
cool.
do not have nearly even close to all of the answers, but I can share at least a lot of the things we've done wrong and a few things that have gone right for sure.
That sounds great. That's amazing. So the inspiration was the lactose free piece, right? So
That was the big, yeah, at the beginning. It was more like there's very few brands that are lactose free, and very often they scream to the world that you're lactose intolerant. So it's not a very cool brand to be associated with. Our generation, so much more now with social media and everything else. What you consume, what you wear, what you walk into somebody's apartment and everything around them is basically who they are in their personality.
I'm
And
judging you
so,
right now based on your
literally based on what's behind me, right? Like I have Bruce Springsteen right
Oh.
here. If you can't tell, that's
Oh, nice.
or I got Saratoga Racetrack. My family's been going for 40 years. My grandfather's in the military. It's an old map. So you can tell a lot about people just based on what's around
Yeah.
them, right? And so for us, people associate with the brands they're consuming, especially we've seen it a lot in CPG as well as apparel. And so being a lactose-free person isn't sexy. It's not cool. And so we wanted to find a way to not only bring lactose-free, but just milk as a whole. We know that there's great nutritional benefits in milk, protein, electrolytes, all sorts of things, but it was always branded towards kids. If it wasn't, it was embarrassing. And the product just wasn't nutritionally healthy enough to actually require you, especially chocolate milk, to drink it every day. And so those are the things we really wanted to change.
And I know, Jordan, you're going to ask a question in a second, but however, I want to make sure that everybody knows this, because I remember at dinner, you talked about that you have a really specific technology, like a patent technology. Like, can you go into that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So basically when we set out to start this company, we said we wanted to solve all of the problems people currently have with drinking real dairy milk right now. And you've seen the rise in alternatives. So having a brand that's not just for kids is a big one. But product itself, like I mentioned, a glass of white skim milk or a cup of it, 8 ounces, has about 12 grams of natural sugar from the cow. And so
Right.
we wanted to figure out a way to get out of that. And so there's a big company that launched about 5 years ago, owned by Coca-Cola, called Fairlife. And what they did is they basically took this process called ultrafiltration, where the easiest way to explain it visually, even though it's not scientifically how it works, is think of it like a Brita filter, where you're pouring the milk through a Brita filter. Lactose is a big molecule, which is the sugar in milk, and it gets caught on the other side of the filter. And that way, all the protein and goodness of the milk flows through, but the sugar gets left behind. And so not only are you creating a lower sugar product, but you're also taking the lactose out as well. And so that was a big piece of technology for us that they've been using in the cheese industry, the protein powder industry for a long time. But we saw Fairlife do it with actual liquid milk, something that really hadn't been done before. And so for us, it was a great opportunity to actually use this value added product in a liquid milk product. And then basically taking the ultrafiltration, it also allowed us to pair it with a process called retort, which allows our products to be shelf stable. Another big problem with milk is the fact that it spoils so quickly and it needs to be refrigerated. And with retort, we basically put our aluminum cans in a big pressure cooker, and it allows our products to be shelf stable for a very long period of time. And so those are kind of two big key pieces of technology that we found in order to, again, get rid of all those reasons why people aren't currently drinking it. And then being in a can is also a great sustainability story. So that was kind of the last piece of the puzzle for us, was to create a story around, everyone talks about dairy is not sustainable because it's typically in plastic. So we're an aluminum can, which is great for the environment, very recyclable and recycled, which is also a key component. We are plastic neutral as a company. So we do use a little bit of plastic around our 12 packs and our pallets, but for every pound we use there, we actually partnered with a team in Kenya to remove a pound of plastic out of the oceans over there.
That's awesome.
And then the final piece of that is when we do ultrafiltration, not only are we filtering out some of the lactose, but we also are filtering out some of the water. And then that water is used back on our family-owned farms. So we work with 30 family-owned farms in upstate New York. And the idea and our goal as a company is within the next 5 to 10 years to be completely water neutral as a company. Even as of today, the farms don't use any outside water. It's a recyclable thing from their milk itself. We're only bringing in outside water for the machinery. So a lot of big goals for us over here. But
it's amazing. And the health piece, I just want to just put this out there one more time, that it's also a keto paleo product, because even though which, keto is really good for cancer, and they rely on the fats from milk and certain proteins, but
Definitely.
you've just taken out the sugar. You haven't taken out the harmful, you haven't taken out what people really need, which is the fat from the milk and the dairy, which is really important for their brain and their health. So
absolutely. So right now we have 3 SKUs. So we have a classic chocolate, a dark chocolate, and an espresso chocolate. So we actually use real brewed Colombian coffee in the espresso. They all have so we actually skim it right now. So we only have 1 gram of fat in each of our products currently, with 9 grams of sugar and 17 grams of protein. If the can was filled with white milk, it would actually have 17 grams of sugar and only 11 grams of protein. So we basically inverse it, and it's a delicious chocolate milk. Now, coming out in March, we are doing a slight reformulation to the product based on all the feedback we've gotten. It's been overwhelmingly great, but small tweaks to always make the product better. And so technically, because we're filtering out all of the sugar, we're adding 9 back in. So it's 9 grams of added sugar. So this iteration in March is actually going to have no added sugar. It's going to have 1 total gram of sugar, no added. And then we're actually going to bump the protein up just a little bit, because we started working with a lot of athletes. And so we're going to bump up that protein to 20 grams. So it will only be 1 gram of fat still, but we'll have 3 to 5 grams of fiber, no added sugar, and 20 grams of protein.
What are you using for the protein?
Excuse me?
What are you using for the protein?
It's all the milk protein. We're not adding any powder.
Amazing.
We're not adding anything. And we're just ultra filtering it that much more. So there's
Amazing.
no powder, nothing. And but on the fats comment, absolutely, it's something we're looking at. So if you look at our 2021 roadmap, by the end of next year, hopefully you'll see some products with a little bit more of the milk fat being used.
The healthy fat. Hey, Jordan, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I think we could, like we talked about, we could make this as conversational as possible. I think the way people are going to really enjoy these conversations are like getting to know Josh in a less structured manner, kind of as I have. But would love to kind of hear a little bit more, Josh, kind of how you guys thought about channel strategy, and what would you say, kind of looking back on things, what would be like the optimal play today? Is it e-com before retail? Is it retail before e-com? And kind of how you kind of see the strongest domino effect from those different plays.
Yeah. So when we first started, I got a lot of pushback from my co-founder Manny on doing a Kickstarter, because I think there's this air out there for some reason that Kickstarter is for companies that aren't legit, or that companies that might not be able to secure funding in any other method. And I think that's just completely false. I'm a massive fan of Kickstarter. It's where we've gotten some of our biggest raving fans. It helped us basically just test if people wanted this product. It's the easiest way to put it out there. We didn't even have to produce anything to say, like, is anybody willing to buy this? And there's really no company right now that you can buy chocolate milk online, unless you're buying the Horizon juice boxes, but for our age demographic, or anybody over the age of 12, buying chocolate milk online is kind of unique. And so what Kickstarter allowed us to do was basically test that audience and put it out there. Exactly. It was marketing. It's not the thing that I think is also misconstrued about Kickstarter, unless you really blow it up. I've never viewed Kickstarter as a fundraising tool. Yes, it's cash up front to help you produce a product or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're still selling people products. And so it's whatever your profit is what you're like taking home as a fundraising tool. So for us, it's much more marketing through sales. And it allowed us to survey people, get initial feedback, get the product out there, get press. And for us, starting with the Kickstarter was huge, because then we could roll that Kickstarter into pre-orders for our e-commerce site. And we actually took that playbook, or that page, right out of the Nut Pods playbook. So much of what we believe here at Slate is just finding all of the companies we look up to, all the companies we think have done a really good job, and just take bits and pieces of things that we think they've done really, really well. And I think that's something that Madeline and the team did super well, is just kind of rolling it into the site. Where we differ from them is there's a belief out there with some companies is that you funnel everybody to Amazon, because Amazon is the most trustworthy site. It's the #1 grocery store in the world, yada, yada. For us, early on, we would much rather do 1/10 of the sales overall as a company in our first 6 months, to own the consumer and understand who they are, where they're buying, why they're buying, all of that. So we actually continue to drive everybody to our site. And very lucky, Manny, my co-founder, is a digital marketing and e-commerce guy. So he was able to actually create success for us. And our first year, we're going to be about 80% of our revenues for e-commerce is actually going to come from our own site versus Amazon.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And that's total props to him. And it was great for us, because we were just able to learn so much so quickly by doing that. Can you share
just quick little things that he did, or what? How did that happen? I'm going to write them down.
I was going to say, because Josh, I think that's something that a lot of people that I've talked to struggle with, is like this idea of like a D2C landscape and two different channels, where Amazon, like you were saying, Sherry, is kind of, I wouldn't even say it's like an online it's not, right? It's a whole nother landscape. And it's just kind of interesting kind of thinking about that dynamic of driving traffic to your own site versus driving people to Amazon. So that would be super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on the brand. I mean, it completely depends on the product and the brand, right? So for us, it's also about control. So when we first got on Amazon, and we're actually still there today, we got pushed to flavored milks. And so when we're in flavored milks, we're going up against products that have 75 grams of sugar, 10 grams of protein, and it's the really indulgent, high fat content. And so if people are going on Amazon looking for a chocolate milk and they try a Slate, I think our products are delicious. I think our fans think it's delicious. It is not an 80 gram of sugar chocolate milk. It's just not going to taste the same. Any better for you product is never going to taste exactly like the real thing. Halo Top, amazing ice cream. It's never going to taste like Ben and Jerry's. And so where we got in trouble is that on Amazon, we had some raving fans, and then we had people that said that, like, look, this doesn't taste like chocolate milk, right? Yeah. And on Amazon, if you don't have a 4-star rating or more, you're screwed. Don't waste your money spending any money on ads if you're not at least 4 stars, because it's just, you're never going to get ranked high enough. So for us, it was really being able to control our narrative of who we are, who we're selling to, and what really worked for us. And again, this is Manny's playbook, is constantly testing copy, content, and audiences. That's like his big thing, is just every single week basically seeing A/B testing content, copy, audiences. And what we've done as a brand that we think RxBar did really well, not to throw out the big name everybody tends to throw out, but if you look at our package, like this is our classic chocolate milk package, it's super simple. And for us, the idea was we didn't want to put a muscly guy on the front of it and say this is only for post-workout. We didn't want to put a big bunny on the front of it and say it's only for kids. We wanted to just show people what the product was, and then through our own ads could basically tell people the drinking moments. So we can have an ad that's specifically geared towards post-workout. We can have an ad that's specifically geared towards a midday snack. The espresso it's basically your morning cup of coffee and piece of granola bar or whatever, all in one, right? And so that's how we've kind of combined our package with our basically social strategy. And so much of what we've done is on Instagram and Facebook. Targeting the millennial audience for us has really been, that's where they shop. I think that there's a lot of noise out there about other platforms. I know TikTok has worked for a few people and some other channels, but what we've seen is Instagram and Facebook is number one personally.
So are you pouring a lot of money into ads there?
Definitely. Yeah, I would say that, we are spending the majority of our marketing budget in Instagram and Facebook. And again, it's a slippery slope. If you don't know what you're doing, you can spend a lot of money and not get a lot of return. Yeah. And so for us, we basically set up a system where we have our CPAs, the cost to acquire a customer. And as long as we had the ability to break even on that customer's LTV or lifetime value, we were willing to spend the money to get there. So we didn't necessarily care about profitability on the first purchase, because we could figure out in the first 6 months, how often are people purchasing and what is the average order value of their cart.
Well, what is the average order for your, that's what my next question was. What's your average order?
So our average order, so right now, I'm pretty sure in the last 6 months, it was like so when we first started, it was like $45. So we sell a 12 pack for like $36.
Because that's just for the audience to know, if you can't go under 35, that magic number is around 35.
Yep.
For a TV play. I didn't know that. I'm learning.
Yeah. So it also depends on your shipping rates, and it depends on your partnership there. So for us, we were able to get it there, but we've been able to just continue to see that grow, which we're very lucky for. What we started doing was, instead of just selling 12 packs, basically figured out what's the most we can ship somebody that still is under this threshold of being super expensive to ship. Right. And for us, 4 cases or 48 cans still is under this threshold of being shipped for pretty cheaply. And so we basically instituted these 48 packs that people can buy for a severe discount, and we're still making more money on it. So that we introduced that about a month ago. And since then, our average order value has significantly increased. As of last week, it was closer to 70 just in our average order value. So for us, that immediately impacts our LTV, our CPAs, and we continue to spend on that front. So yeah, holistically, I would say that rolling from the Kickstarter DTC was a big part of our strategy. Anybody that doesn't have the minimum runs of a large manufacturer, I think that's the absolute best thing you can do to test. For us in retort, in a milk specifically, there are pretty much 2 to 3 manufacturers in the country that can produce what we make. And so they're all large. And so we basically had to convince them to work with us, and then work with them to figure out, okay, how much are you going to let us run? How little can you let us run, which is still a large order? And then kind of back into how many cans do we need to be selling? And so for us, we didn't want to go out and start spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on Instagram and Facebook advertising. So we basically started with Kickstarter to prove a little bit of demand, basically pre-sale a certain percentage of that first run. DTC based off the Kickstarter, how much do we think we could sell per month based on certain return on ad spend kind of stuff for DTC. And then we had X amount left. So between the Kickstarter ending and the first day we wanted to roll out with this first retailer 8 months later, how many doors do we need to get into? And so for us, DTC and retail really all happened at the same time, just because we had hit those minimums with our co-packer.
So you didn't have a plan initially, we're just going to do DTC. You're more about distribution.
Correct. But I would say that any brand that has the ability to test first in DTC, absolutely do it, and or 1 or 2 retailers that you think are perfect for your brand.
Right, because it's really easy to get on shelf. Well, it's sometimes easy to get on shelf. It's not easy to get off shelf.
Right.
Well, I think one of the questions, Josh, in terms of like consumers being able to try your product and having like a strong DTC presence, especially selling cases of 12, how have you guys kind of thought about people testing your product, and has there been any pushback between like, I need to order 12 cans before I can even try a sip, or how do you guys kind of handle that process?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we're constantly working through now. Right now, our minimum order is 12, and it's just the life of being a beverage company. If you really go to any beverage site right now, I don't know if I've ever seen a beverage company that sells less than a 12 pack. Yeah. And that could be a total over exaggeration, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I've seen part of that are like pay for shipping and we'll send you like 2, but that was like a super anomaly there.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it all comes down to the unit economics, right? And people are trained right now to anticipate if they're buying a beverage, it's going to be a large pack. So the more we can gain retail presence all over the country, when people do reach out saying, hey, I just want to try one can, we can say, we'll go to X retailer. We can use digital couponing and say, go out here. And so our Facebook ads not only are going to be used for driving e-commerce purchases, but a big part of these ads is it really is helping us grow the brand. And then it's helping us also where we can do digital coupons and things like that people go download and go to the store.
Okay, real quick, before I do have a quick question that I think people are going to be interested in.
Sure.
So now that you've told us all of your strategies and this, to reach the consumer, what do you think are the three most, like the best either apps or email campaign marketing platforms? Like, what would you suggest other people to use? Because we've heard it from many, but I'm wondering what you think. Or like
the easiest thing in the world to set up for any DTC business, I recommend it to everybody. Shopify template, don't do anything custom. There's no reason to. Shopify templates are fantastic and you basically can customize them to your brand. You start with that, you integrate it with Klaviyo, which is an email marketing tool.
Yeah,
every DTC brand, they're great. Boston-based company as well, shout out.
I was gonna say, everyone pronounces it differently. Sherry and I were just like
laughing
about this before. It's like Klaviyo.
Yeah, no, it's Klaviyo. And then that integrates with Yotpo. We've seen phenomenal results with Yotpo.
Yotpo is expensive.
It is decently pricey, but we've seen a fantastic return on it.
Because I'm using Stamped,
gotcha.
And I was gonna switch, and they kept on saying you're gonna end up paying more money. I just don't know. And I was at Klaviyo, and I actually pinged the owner of Klaviyo because I had such poor customer service. Shout out to customer service. And then I switched to OmniSend, which has phenomenal customer service, but then they have a lot more glitches. So it's like, and then Klaviyo, whatever the heck they called, you have to pay extra for SMS, whereas OmniSend includes the SMS. So it's like, what is a person to do?
So with any service provider that we've ever dealt with, and I'm sure it's all about your relationship with whoever your rep is. And clearly you just didn't have the right rep.
You have a good rep you can introduce me to, because I'm a good person to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it. That's like a big thing for us is like
I would love
every
an
single
email.
company.
That's great. Because I'll just let you know that No Brainer has the best customer service. They deal with me. And I don't understand this.
Firsthand.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, it's so important.
It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. I think it's your generation though. I don't know. I think there's something missing in customer service. I don't know. I don't mean to be whatever.
No, I totally get it. But it's all about the people at the end of the day. It's what it comes down to. And same with our products. People buy people, not necessarily their products.
Exactly. And that's why people need to meet you, because you are the sweetest guy. For me, you really were a shining light out of everybody I met at the CVS.
I appreciate it. No, it's good. It's good to have real conversation. The people that are going to be honest and not just kind of blow smoke and talk about their own products. And it's cool to be able to try and learn and see what you've been doing for so long. And basically just pivoting and moving with the industry, I think is also super important.
Yeah, I think this is great. Do you want to go with our at every episode, we're going to ask one question. Might not be the same question.
So Josh, and it doesn't have to be about Slate or anything like that, just more you generally. So if you had an extra hour in the day, where would you spend your time?
Wow. Honestly, on the golf course. When I was in high school, I played 36 holes a day, every day I could. In the summer, after school, every day we'd play. And I got pretty good, and would play with my dad all the time, with my buddies. And now I live in the city. Not a lot of golf courses around here. Classic millennial without a car too, so it's hard to get places. And so yeah, I mean, I think being a startup founder, as you all know, you wake up in the morning at 7:30 to a phone call, and you pretty much don't put the laptop down until midnight when you go to bed. So I would say the extra hour is on the course, phones off, even though I don't think I could do it, and playing with my buddies or my family.
But Josh, this has been such an honor and so fun catching up with you.
It was great. You too. Definitely email me after this, and I'll talk to my Klaviyo rep too.
Oh, we have to. And I got to think about Yotpo. It's like, how much do you spend so that you're spending hundreds of dollars a month?
I mean, yeah. Now that our list is so big, and we for Yotpo and stuff, we spend a decent amount of money. But the validation of reviews on our website, when I talk about Amazon versus our site, it's just so much more trustworthy that way, and so that's why we think it's a good investment.
It is a good investment, but that's what people have to think about. And I don't know if everybody really does think about the bottom line and the dollars spent on a
Yeah.
monthly basis when you have a startup. And it's really important. I mean, this is our
Definitely.
second brand, our second company, and we're in business and we're doing really well. It's kind of unheard of, right? I mean,
Yeah.
not to do it the first time, right? So,
Yeah.
but I think it's because we're old and we really count every penny. We just
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
where are we going to spend our dollars? And I don't
It's
know.
a common theme. It's a common theme nowadays to raise a bunch of money and not be profitable on it. And
Exactly.
I don't think you definitely don't have to be profitable in your first couple of years
Right.
But I think it also, as long as you understand that you're building your business to scale,
Yes.
and that you have the vision to it in the future. But
I know there's different schools of thought on that one.
yeah, definitely.
Sure. But yeah, the great insight, really great insight. So I'm going to email you about the.
Yeah, definitely. Please do. Happy to do it.
All righty. All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Good luck. Thanks
Cool.
for the time. Good to see you guys.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
care.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, take care.